So it is a new cycle. Start off this new cycle, new month. I want to talk about Anatta, but from the point of view of the subtle body. It's an intense weekend for me because I didn't realize it at the time, back in 1998, but my teacher actually died on Easter weekend. And I had a very, you might say, biblical experience where he had died either on Thursday or Friday. And then I got the phone call when I just happened to be in New York for work. And that was on a Monday morning. I got the phone call. And then I have to go to work. So that was intense. But I have very supportive coworkers, so it was good. And then in the evening, back at my hotel, I did my meditation, and then I crawled into bed, and then all of a sudden there was a visitation of Dharma. He sent to emanation, and he sat in the chair in the hotel room. And I'm like in bed, ready to fall asleep. But I'm like, no, I don't want to fall asleep because my teacher's there. And so I had this, fight with myself the whole night, trying not to fall asleep so I could continue sitting with my teacher, because I knew that was it. He was leaving. And even though I did doze off a couple times and woke up, but he sat with me all night long, just to show that, yes, the body is gone, but the energy body, the subtle body, still remains. That emanation, that access point to light still remains. And it was until years later that I realized that it was also Easter weekend. And so now we're here again on Easter weekend. And so I feel that not only for myself, but from all of my Sangha mates, because that's what the subtle body is. It's a way that we sense everything that's non-physical. The Sambhogakaya. I'm totally butchering that word. Please look up the proper Sanskrit pronunciation. Sambhogakaya. It's the blissful body, the energy body. And we have our physical bodies, and we all agree. But then we also have the energetic side of our being. The energetic part of our being, that we also call the subtle body or the energy body, exists in all time, all at once. Our physical body is very linear. We're born, grow up, we have old age, and we die. Usually sickness in there too. All the unavoidable things. And that's very linear. So we think that that's all we are. That's what we're trained, right, in the society. It's all about the physical. But we also all know that we have this energy side. Even as little children, we really are plugged into our subtle physical body, because it's still being developed up until we're about 7 or 8 years old. And at that point, we finally have our subtle bodies complete, and that's when we really start to play and experience, and we feel different things. But because of the society that we live in, we're taught not to trust it. Our parents or our caregivers or well-meaning adults will be freaking out over something. Maybe something really horrible is happening. Maybe it's just a little bad. And they'll look at the kid and who's also feeling it and starting to freak out and say, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. Everything's fine, everything's fine. And it's very well intentioned, right? But what's happening in that interaction is the child is feeling, but the authority figure is saying, no, you're not. That's not, don't trust that feeling. Trust me. Everything's okay. So after repeated experiences like this, both with big things and little things, we learn to just kind of tune out from the subtle body. We don't trust it as much. I think as a society we've gotten better because there's a greater understanding of intuition, of the gut feeling, trusting the gut. And so as a world, we're starting to wake up a little bit more that, oh, wait, we are more than physical. Like sometimes we just have a feeling, and if we trust it, things work out. But what happens as we start to go down that road and we start to open up to our subtle physical body, we start to trust it more. We do the same thing that we did with our physical body. We identify with it. We say, okay, now I figured out I'm not just the physical body, I'm also this energy body. And so now we're identifying not only with this linear experience, now we're identifying with this formlessness, this everything happening all at once. And it can be very overwhelming because all of a sudden you are taking ownership of every sensation, every thought, every feeling, every experience. You're saying, oh, I'm that. But if we're practicing mindfulness, if we meditate, then we learn that, oh no, that's not myself. That's not myself either. Just watching our mind, we very quickly learn that, oh, I'm not my body. Because I can be having this experience in my body and at the same time experiencing all these other things. So I want you to stretch a little bit further and realize that all of these different sensations that you feel through your energy body is not the self either. So that leaves you with the question, well, if that's not the self, then what am I? That's the real question, right? That's the thing that we investigate. I can give you vague descriptions. Say that you are awareness of awareness. But that's probably not very helpful. But what it can be helpful is as you are experiencing this whirlwind of existence, to recognize that, oh, that's not myself. It's not self, not self. There's a yogic practice, neti neti. You say, not this, not this, not this. And that is a practice of anatta, of recognizing that these ideas that form in the mind, the emotions that arise, the sensations that come through both the body, the physical body, and the subtle body, is not the self. There's something more. And then we say, oh, well, the witness, the one that's witnessing all this, that's myself. And it's like, no. That's a good step, to become aware of this witness. But the witness is very judgmental. So even let go of the witness. Go a little bit deeper. So over the next few weeks, we'll explore more about the subtle body. But I wanted to add that little piece about not self. This is the core of Buddhism. It's what sets Buddhism apart from most other religions. If you look at the Judeo-Christian religions, they kind of work, the way I picture it is there's a beautiful tanka of the wheel of life where you have all of experience happening within inside this wheel. And the goal of many religions is to just find yourself on a better place on the wheel. So you be a good person, accumulate good karma, you do good works, so that when you are reborn, or when you die, depending on how you want to frame that, you will be moved from your current station on the wheel into a heaven realm. And there are stories that say, if you're born into a heaven realm, it lasts a really, really long time. So it's a beneficial thing. The downside is it's really hard to practice Dharma in a heaven realm because there's really no suffering. Anything you want, anything you need. There's the suffering knowing that it's going to end. But you don't think about that. If you got everything, you think you're like, oh, I want, a nice stack of pancakes. And then boom, there's pancakes. Or I want, to some really fun company. Then like, oh, here comes a group of people. Nice. Anything and everything that you want just is there instantly. I just want you to experience loving. And then boom, now you have all these wonderful people and things to love. And it's a beautiful dream. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a worthwhile pursuit. But you're stuck on the wheel. That's why on that tanka of the wheel of life, you'll see the Buddha standing outside of the wheel pointing. Like, hey, there's a way off. You can get off this crazy thing. And we do that by recognizing that there is this concept of not self, of this idea that we cling to being something or someone. That's what keeps us on this wheel, going round and round, saying, okay, I need to do this so I can be that type of person, or, oh no, I did this horrible thing, so now I'm going to go to a very painful realm. Or I'm just caught in wanting, and so I'll be born as a hungry ghost. We depict these creatures as having really big bellies and little tiny mouths. And, they sound funny, but it's, if you think about it compassionately, it's like, oh, what a horrible state to be in. To be so hungry, but to not have the capacity to fill that wanting. And of course, if we remember our subtle body exists in all time, it's not linear, then we can recognize that, oh, there is a part of me that's the hungry ghost that falls into that wanting, whether it's wanting things to be different, whether it's wanting a physical or emotional desire fulfilled. There's another part of us that is in the deep, dark hell realms where there's just no light. It's just darkness. There's not even the conception of light. There's other part of us that's in the animal realm, and we just know about running around wild, like my cats when they get the zoomies. Or the little ants that I'm fighting in my house. Sorry, little ants, can't live in my house. But they just want to live, you know, just come looking for food. As another part of us that is in the heaven realms, always. And there's another part of us that knows that we're just awareness, that we're not the self, that we are not a fixed, permanent thing that is stationary. Again, I can't define what that is. You know, that's what philosophers have attempted to do for centuries and centuries. But how this teaching helps us in a very practical sense is that when we get caught up in thinking that we're someone, and thinking that we are something, when we are blown away by the sensations that are coming through our subtle body, that's what the subtle body does. It senses, feels. It just kind of taps into everything all at once. And it's a field of attention that we can then learn to hone. And we do this automatically sometimes, like if we're going on a trip, and part of us checks in and automatically sees where we're going. It sends back information to our physical being. But as all of that's happening, the more you start to open to these deeper levels of being, having this teaching of anatta, of not self, makes it very simple, not necessarily easy, but simple, to let go of everything that's flowing through. So when we meditate, especially if we're just starting off, we might notice like there's all of these thoughts. I've even had people tell me, oh, that meditation stuff doesn't work, it just makes me think more. And it's not that you're thinking more, it's just that you're finally noticing how many thoughts that you're having. But with this teaching of anatta, even if you don't fully understand it, just feeding yourself this contemplation of, oh, these thoughts are not self. And then you have the whirlwind of emotions that arise. Different memories come up, you have different experiences. Maybe things don't go the way you want, so you have the frustration. Again, you can use this as a little mantra, not self. Like, oh, these emotions are coming up, but that's not myself either. They're just phenomenon arising. And then we open to the subtle body, and then we have things that we don't even have words for that we're experiencing. Just these sensations of different feelings and intuitions, different inspirations flooding into us. And we can get hooked by any one of them. Saying, oh, I really, really want to do that. Or, oh, I really hope that doesn't happen. Or, what is that I'm feeling? This uneasiness. This, oh, that's a new feeling. What is that? And if we cling to any of that too tightly, it can knock us off balance. But if we remember, oh, not self. Not self. This teaching of Anatta places us in the center of the tornado of existence. So instead of just trying so hard to find a fixed footing, trying so hard to manipulate and control everything around us, we can just rest in this wisdom of Anatta. Oh, it's not self. Not self. And there's this little fear that comes up a lot of times, like, oh, well, if I just let go of all of this, then I'm just not going to do anything. I'll just be unmotivated. And that's not true in my experience. That happens if you're clinging to the idea of hiding from what's happening. So there's a very stark difference between recognizing not self and putting up a wall and saying, not dealing with that. And that's where humility comes in. That's where that brutal self-honesty is so crucial on the path. Because you can use this teaching of not self and turn it into the most powerful spiritual bypassing tool in existence. And say, oh, it doesn't matter because it's not self. Whereas inside you're just cringing and you're burning an ulcer in your belly. And then you're just getting tighter and tighter, and then finally, eventually, life will give you something that just makes you snap. Like I watched this, this 10 minutes of this episode of My Cat from Hell with Jackson Galaxy. It's a really good show about cats that are supposedly behaving badly, but it's always the person. And it was this really sweet couple who were Buddhists, and they did chanting. And every morning they would sit down to do their chanting, which is very energetic chanting in their style of Buddhism that they do. And their little 1.5-year-old cat would just freak out when they started chanting and just start howling and meowing and running around, and then if the woman would start yelling at the cat, and then the husband would try to calm down the cat, so the cat would jump up and bite his arm and scratch him, and they would just get really, really, really upset. And the woman said something really funny. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was like, the cat was destroying her spirituality. Which just really cracked me up. I was like, I think you got that. I think the cat is your gift from life, teaching you not to just bypass what's actually happening. Which, when the host of the show came in, that's eventually what he taught them, was to not try and block out the cat, but to include the cat in their spirituality, to, make a little cat bed right next to their altar, to play with the cat, to pet the cat mindfully, and instead of getting upset and angry that the cat is meowing, to just allow the meowing to be part of the chanting. So when we use this teaching of not self, it's not about yelling at everything, saying, not self, not self, not self, get away, get away. It's realizing that, not self is all around me, is all within me, swirling, and incorporating that into our experience, and recognizing that all of this is phenomenon arising and then falling away without clinging to any of it. But once we identify with something, say, that's my anger, that is my feelings, these are my thoughts, now you've got a problem. Now they're yours. But if you can say, not self, without clinging, without pushing away, just recognize, not self. And then everything becomes incorporated into our practice. Does that make sense? Yeah, maybe. A little bit. Okay. Again, it's something that we contemplate. It's not something like we just instantly get. It's something we play with and experience and explore. So add that to your toolbox of not self. And we're going to meditate. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching.